Welcome to Women in Power Active, an initiative started by UR Sportswear to empower women to find their own active adventure. I'm your host, Jacqueline Gross. In the high mountains of Colombia, 7 women step into the unknown, hands on stone, hearts on fire. They move with intention, their stories etched in every crimp, every breath of thin air. But this isn't just about climbing, it's about resilience. Each of these women carries more than a rope and a harness. They carry grief, recovery, survival, the weight of expectation, the strength of motherhood, the complexity of identity. Their ascents are not just physical, they're emotional, cultural, and deeply human firsts. Among them, Alita, featured in the Guerreras Women Warriors film. Show us what resilience looks like when it takes form in motion. How they've turned pain into purpose, solitude into self-trust, and mountains into mirrors of inner strength. Because sometimes the most powerful summits aren't the ones you can see, they're the ones you feel deep within. Alita, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to speak with you today.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Well, I mean, I say us because you actually invited me and Elisa, but she couldn't be here. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Oh, of course, of course. So we're gonna start at like the very beginning, because you're the only one here now. We're gonna talk about kind of how you became an active person and like what got you there, how you got into climbing. So was it somebody when you were growing up, or like how did you become an active person?
Well, I've been an athlete since I was very, very young. I was a professional swimmer when I started swimming when I was 6 years old, and I became a professional swimmer when I was 7 years old. I remember that my childhood was just swimming like 3 times a day, every single day, and I was a swimmer until I was like 15 years old,
Mm.
and then almost 5 years later is when I started climbing. And I don't know, since ever since I was a kid, I was always attracted by climbing. But since I was swimming all the time, I didn't have the time for another sport.
Hmm.
But then when I was like 19 or 20 and I was at the university, a friend of mine had a ticket for a climbing gym and she invited me to go there and I just fell in love with the sport like immediately.
That's awesome. Like, okay, so tell me about your first day climbing. Like, what was that like?
I went to a small climbing gym with her. Actually, well, yeah, she just told me, okay, just try it. And she started doing her training because she was already a climber. And I was just there, like in front of the wall and trying to figure out myself what to do and how to do it. I remember that I could do like only 2 steps and then I just fell all the time. But I don't know. I don't think I've always told that I've never considered myself to be like a talented climber. Like the things that I've achieved as a climber is because I am very disciplined.
Mhm.
But I remember that very first day was like super frustrating, you would say, because I
Mhm.
couldn't do anything. But I don't know, I felt that it was like super interesting and I just kept doing it even though I didn't feel that I was like talented for the sport.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like, how did you go for, I mean, because it's really hard, especially if you're very like skilled, you're going from something very skilled, like swimming that you've been doing all your life to something that you're very unskilled at. And, there's positives and negatives about that because you get to explore the sport, as somebody new with fresh eyes. What kind of got you hooked so that you wanted to keep trying climbing?
Well, something that I think what happened to me with swimming was that it just at some point it was just like super boring. Like, it was just repeating the same thing once and again. And it was kind of a fight against the timer to try to get a little bit faster. But I think the opposite thing is, well, I think with climbing is completely the other way around. Like I've been climbing for 17 years, and there are some times that I am in front of a boulder or in front of a route, and I am like, oh my God, I have no idea what I have to do. You know, what I mean is that you will never know all the techniques in climbing. You will never know all the moves. It's always like a learning process. You're always going to be finding new things, discovering new things. And I think that's what got me hooked about climbing, because I was there in my very first day in climbing, and I remember that I tried many different routes, and every single route was different. And I was like, oh, okay, so at the end I could do this one, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to do the next one, because every single route is a new discovery. So I think that's something that is super interesting about climbing for me. Like, you will always learn. You can be climbing like for 30 years, and you will always learn new things or new techniques. Every route is different, every crack is different, every boulder is different. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I was also thinking too, like with swimming, you're kind of like underwater, obviously, and so it's very solitary. And like whereas climbing, I feel like has a much bigger like community is a big part of it. Did you find that? Um,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Even, I am more a sport climber than a boulderer,
mhm,
but I've always said that climbing is not an individual sport, as many people say. I
mhm,
think it's like a community sport or a group sport, because even when you are like sport climbing and you are up there, like, and you are supposed to be alone, you are not. Like, the relationship and the bond that you have with your belayer is super strong, and having someone there belaying you and cheering you up, like, that makes a whole difference. So yeah, I also think like climbing is not an individual sport. Or even if you're in the boulder gym,
mhm.
like, even if you're trying a boulder by yourself and the other people are trying something different, like people are cheering you up and are trying to help you to figure out the beta, it's like there is so much like sharing in climbing, that it makes that it's not like a solitary sport as it can be with swimming, as you said.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so you got into climbing, but it looks like from watching the some of the film, you might have gotten into mountaineering as well. Is that correct?
Well, I was born in Venezuela,
Uh-huh.
and I was born in a small city that is surrounded by big mountains in Venezuela. And when I was living in Venezuela, I moved to Colombia 10 years ago. But when I was in Venezuela, I used to go to the mountains all the time. But now, since when I moved to Colombia, I stopped like going to the mountains and doing more sport climbing, because sport climbing, especially outdoors, is more developed in Colombia than in Venezuela. That's also related to the political and economic situation of Venezuela right now. Like, bolting a route is super expensive,
Hmm.
especially because our currency in Venezuela is super cheap. So there is not, like, sport climbing is not that well developed as here in Colombia. So when I moved to Colombia, I stopped going to the mountains and I just started doing a lot of outdoor climbing.
Hmm.
But you can see some girls going to the mountains in the film, but it's not me. It's another girl who is like a mountain guide.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, thank you for educating me on that one. Um,
It's fine.
yeah, that's very cool, or interesting to know about the cultural aspect of it. That makes a lot of sense. Um, so you said you're not really into bouldering, so you got top roping. You're really into top rope climbing. Is there any like thing that you're working towards right now that you're working on?
Well, actually, I do boulder a lot in the climbing gym, but I I do it more as a training than because I have specific goals in boulder. Because the thing is that My biggest strength is my endurance, and my biggest weakness is my power. So even though I am a sport climber and I do routes and I want to do routes outdoors, normally when I fall, it's not because I lack endurance, but because I cannot do the hard moves of the route. So I do boulder a lot in the gym just to get prepared to the
Hmm.
hard routes outdoors. But like right now, well, the thing is that this has been like a very hard year in my life because um, you're gonna see in the movie that
Hmm.
my story is very much about around my dog, and she died this year, so it's been like super super hard.
I'm sorry.
And for the she yeah she died in January, and like the first 7 months I was like super depressed. I didn't want to climb, I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to
Hmm.
go working. I was like in a very deep hole. And right now, like, well, this last month is gotten better, but I am still like not in my 100%. But at least I am again enjoying climbing and enjoying the things that I used to enjoy very much in the past and that I stopped enjoying when she died. So, like right now, I don't have like a specific project. There is not like a single route that I really want to try. Like for me, to be able to enjoy climbing again and to be able to, be disciplined again and want to train and want to be in the gym is like my goal now. Like to recover the love for the things that I used to love because this year I just stop like loving everything and just stop
Hmm.
loving even being alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my goal now, like to be again in my 100%, like emotionally, and that's
Yeah.
related to climbing, of course.
Of course. Yes. Everything impacts the sport. I'm so sorry to hear for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah. If I
Yeah,
hope.
it's super hard.
Mhm. Um, so I guess we could get into the film a little bit. How did you get involved with this project and um yeah, how did that all start even?
Well, actually, the idea of creating the film was Elisa's. Um, it's a shame that she's not here today so she can tell you the story, but
Hmm.
I can say it myself. So Elisa is half from the USA and half from Costa Rica because her mom comes from Costa Rica,
Hmm.
but she was born in the United States. I mean, Elisa. And a couple of years ago, Elisa got a scholarship and she came to Colombia for a year. This experience was very significant for her because it was like the very first time that she could climb like in the Latin American community, that she could like really get in touch with her Latin American roots. And it was like very, very deep and like very how would you say it? Like just I think it helped her very much to find her real identity because there was this unknown part, the Latin American part of her that was not very known for her, and coming here helped her to finish building her
Hmm.
whole identity. So when she went back to the United States, she wanted to create a project for Colombia, and then she became she became she applied I'm sorry she applied to a project that is sponsored by Scarpa,
Hmm.
and this project wants to like create opportunities to the Latin American community, oh, not the Latin American communities, sorry, for the minor communities
Hmm.
that are part of the outdoor sports in the United States. So she applied for that. She became an ambassador of that program, and she said like, I want to do a project for Colombia. And I remember when she was living in Colombia, she was living in another place. I live in Bogota, the capital. But I remember that I met her one day at the crack here close to Bogota. And we just like talked a little bit, but that was the only time in life that we kind of talked.
Hmm.
And we changed numbers. And then like when she went back to the United States and she decided to be part of that program, she called me one day and she told me like, you know what, I want to do a film about female climbing in Colombia, and I want you to be part of it. And I said, okay, yeah, why not?
Hmm.
Um, but she was like kind of confused. She didn't really know like what to do and how to do it, or what girls she could include in the project.
Yeah.
So we had like a very long conversation, and I gave her some tips, and then like we finished the conversation, and I remember like 3 weeks later she called me again and she told me like, you know what, I'm not doing this. It's like making a film is just too much work. I have no idea how to do it. I am not a filmmaker. I have no idea. It's like a lot of money.
Hmm.
And then I told her, like, you know what, let's do it together. Like, I am not part of the program that you are part of with Scarpa, but I want to do it with you. I don't want to be just one of the protagonists of the film, but I want to help you to make it happen.
Hmm.
And from that point, we started working together, like looking for the filmmakers, for the girls who were going to be part of the film, like raising the money. It's been super beautiful, because we barely knew each other when we
Hmm.
started doing the project. And now we're like super close friends.
Hmm.
And, like doing a project like this one that is huge and where so much money is involved and so much work, it can be complicated, especially if you're working with someone who you don't even know. But
Hmm.
it's been just perfect. Like everything between us works perfectly. Like, you know, it's been super honest. We work together very well, and we found a very good team of filmmakers. And now it's 5 people who, like Elisa and me, and 3 more people like working in the project.
Hmm.
And it's been a very um, it's been hard. It's been a lot of work, but we've learned so much, and we're super happy with the response that we've got. Like the film is now like super. It's been selected like for more than 30 film festivals around the world, and it's getting like huge. And yeah, that's how it all happened. That's how I got involved. I think I talked too much.
No, no, that was awesome. Um, that is so incredible. And I love that what came out of it too, most of all, was like a great like friendship. So like
Yeah,
of you creating this beautiful film, but about empowerment and but also like this great relationship. So that's so cool.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, she's great. She's an amazing woman.
um, I wanted to kind of like get into a little bit more about like the story of the film, like kind of how it follows six or sorry, seven different women, and you're one of the women that it follows. So we'll focus in more about your story, but kind of what is the framing of the story for you specifically?
Hmm. Yeah, well, actually, we wanted to show in this film how climbing is the link between all of the stories. Like we wanted to show how climbing helped each of these women to go through a very hard situation of their lives. Like climbing was what gave them the strength to go through that specific situation.
Hmm.
So it's like more, like in the film, of course, you're gonna see all these girls like climbing her routes and sending her routes, but it's not a film only about like, like seeing the girls climbing hard things, but more like about the stories behind those climbs. Like in my case, um, they show like when the sending of one very very hard route here in Colombia,
Hmm.
and I did the first female ascent of this route. But what is important in that ascent is not actually that I was able to do the climb, but what that climb meant for me in that specific moment of my life. You
Hmm.
know, like was going through a very hard period. Like my dog was super sick, my grandfather had cancer, my dad had like a depression disorder, and like that route became for me like my oxygen. You know, like going to that crack every single Sunday to try that route was the thing like that kept me like that gave me a balance in my
Hmm.
life because I was like super sad. So yeah, like when I sent the route, it was like I was happy about sending the route, but more than that, like the process that I went through to get that scent was like the very valuable thing for me because it's like, yeah, that route helped me to go through a depression and made me feel better when I was like going through a very hard time of my life. And that's more or less the story of each of the girls. Like each of them was going through a hard thing or very hard period, and climbing was the way how they could like get the strength to like to go through it.
Yeah.
So I think one powerful thing about this movie is that, as I said, yeah, you see the girls climbing, but you have like stories of, I don't know, motherhood, eating disorders, like depression, mental illness. So like we were selected a couple of months ago to a film festival that was not related to outdoor sports or anything. And this festival was here in Colombia, and I had the opportunity to go to the festival, and no one there was a climber. And people after watching the film, like many people approached me, especially women, and told me like that they felt related to the film in many different ways, even though they had never climbed in their lives.
Hmm.
um that was very powerful for me, like that, I don't know, a 60 years old woman who has never climbed came to me and told me like I felt so related to the story of motherhood that was presented in the film. And like this gave me a different perspective of what motherhood is, and that I can still like keep searching my dreams, like fighting for my dreams. That was super beautiful, that
Hmm.
women who are not climbers can also feel related to the stories of these girls.
Wow, that's incredible. It must have felt so good to have like that experience with those people. So cool. Um, I just want to like sit with that for a second. It's so beautiful that you like, I mean, yes, climbing kind of brought everybody together, but that's like it was everybody's interpretation and what they got out of the film was different and powerful just the same. So that's just awesome. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, and then f from there, I guess like with the film, did you feel that like watching the other women that were part of it, like did you draw any experiences or draw any like lessons from what they were discussing as well?
Yeah, of course. Like, there is a girl who has like an eating disorder. I've never, I wouldn't say that I have had an eating disorder myself, but like climbing is a sport where people think that, or we climbers tend to think that if we are thinner, then we're gonna climb better.
Hmm.
Um, since I was, as I told you, like I was a professional swimmer when I was a kid, I am actually like, like my back is super big, like I have very, very big muscles.
Hmm.
Like I would say that I am kind of heavy for a climber.
Hmm.
I've my legs have a lot of muscles, and I've always thought like, oh, I wish my legs were thinner and that I didn't have so many like muscles in my legs because they are heavy, and or things like that. I've never done anything like against my health. Like
Hmm.
I've never had anorexia or anything like that, but I have I I have had those thoughts like I wish I was thinner.
Hmm.
And when this girl was like sharing like what she was going through, I kind of felt related to that, like to the thoughts that she had, like when she was going through that. Like, of course, she took it to another level.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I also felt related to that, for example.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a good example. I definitely have struggled with disordered eating growing up as well, so I can relate to that. But that's really kind of like seeing the struggle to the extreme and kind of realizing it gives you like a different perspective on climbing and activity in general. What so I wanted to kind of like circle back because I feel like we zoomed through your story, when we were talking about you growing up and getting into climbing, and you've been in climbing for, what'd you say, 17 years?
Almost 18 years.
Wow, that's incredible. And like the consistency of it too, like that's a huge like it's a huge undertaking too to like keep it like at the forefront of your life. How do you stay consistent with your activity?
I think when you love something, like, structuring your life and finding the time to be able to do it doesn't feel as a sacrifice, you know? It's
Hmm.
just like, actually, when I started climbing, I never had the goal of like being Venezuelan champion or the best female climber in Colombia or to become the first female climber in Colombia to climb 514A. Like I never had those goals. I never wanted to be the best. I just loved it so much that I wanted to do it every day. But if you do it every day, then you get injured because, it's too much for your body. So I wanted to do it like in a good way so that I could progress, but like try new things every all the time. So I started learning about training, and like I feel like when you're in love with something,
Hmm.
like you find the time, you find a way, like you stop doing other things, and it doesn't feel like this is a sacrifice. It's just like, if, like if I don't go party, but I can go to the crack tomorrow, it's like, this is not a sacrifice. I prefer to go to the crack.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think the best way to be disciplined at something is like doing something that you enjoy. Like I was also very disciplined in my studies, and I think that was that way because I also loved what I studied.
Hmm.
So, yeah, but I also think that it comes from my background as a swimmer.
Yeah.
When I was 7 years old, I was already waking up at 4 a.m. because I had to train at 5 a.m. before going to school, and then after school I had to train again. So I also think, like, as I said, like loving something is a big part, but also, of course, there are some days that I am tired, or you're not always in your 100% of motivation. So there are also some times when I don't want to go climbing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, in those moments, like I think that little girl who was super disciplined, or to learn to have a lot of structure in her life,
Hmm.
um, comes to tell me like, you have to go, you have to be disciplined, because that's how I learned. Like people sometimes make fun of me because I am super structured for everything that I do, and I think that comes from being a professional swimmer since I was like very very young, and having that very rigid structure
Hmm.
ever since I was a kid.
Why, I'm just curious, like why did you end up stop swimming? Like when,
Because I hated it.
okay. That's a good reason. Yeah.
That was like the first very big crisis of my life, because I hated it so much,
Hmm.
but that's everything I knew. Like it was like my very first identity crisis, because when I was 15 years old, I was completely sure that I didn't want to swim anymore. I really hated it. But it
Hmm.
was like, if I am not a swimmer, who am I? If I
Right.
don't go swimming every day, what am I going to do every day? Like
Hmm.
all my friends, everyone that surrounded me were swimmers too, and all my weekends were like swimming, like training or traveling for competitions. Like I wanted to stop swimming, but I was like, yeah, I don't know who I am without this sport. But like I did like swimming, but I was never in love with it.
Yeah.
Like I just started doing it because my parents thought that it was important to learn how to swim, and then after I learned, my coach told my parents like, oh, I think she could be good in competitions, and I was 7. I was like, okay, whatever. Like I
Yeah.
didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But then when you are like already 13 or 14 and you start like, like I don't know, wondering, like, am I doing what I really want to do? Do I really like it? And at the point, like I realized that I really didn't like it anymore. I was just like doing it because it was everything I knew.
I no, I completely understand that for sure. I have had things like that too. And I guess like I one of the things that I quit, when you start something and then it's like really hard to quit it, just because you have all these feelings about it, like, I'm gonna like this makes me like weak in some way or something like that. It's just like really hard to stop doing something, especially when you like identify with it. But yeah, that really like resonates with me. If you like, and that's why we have this podcast as well, is because we want women to try new things. And like if you find something that you love, then the effort, it feels almost effortless. Not every day, like you had said, like not every day are you going to be super motivated to do it, but like find something you love and like continue to work on it.
Yeah. Like this year it happened to me again but this time with climbing, and it was so hard because since I was so depressed because my dog died,
Hmm.
it was not like against climbing personally, but I just stopped like enjoying everything. Like I also dance salsa in a salsa academy because I love dancing.
Yeah.
That's like my older passion.
Hmm.
But after my dog died, I didn't want to go dancing. I didn't want to go climbing. But like with dancing, it was like easier to accept that I didn't want to do it. But with climbing, it was like very hard for me to accept like that I didn't want to. Like, I've been always so, of course, I had days or moments where I don't want to go climbing, but normally I am like super motivated and excited about it. But it was so hard for me, to get in the climbing gym and to be in front of the boulders and to think like, I don't want it. Like, I don't care. Like all these
Hmm.
climbing holes, what's this? It doesn't have, and it didn't make any sense to me. Like, to top a route, or it was like meaningless for me. And I didn't like, normally I go to the crack every Sunday, and I didn't want to. Like I woke up every Sunday, and I was like forcing myself to go to climb, and I felt guilty about that.
Hmm.
Like, why don't I want to climb?
Yeah. No, I mean, and then like having to process both like losing your dog and then also, why, what's wrong with me kind of feelings. I mean, it just adds to it really. And like I guess, how did you get out of that?
Sorry. I
Yes.
Okay.
She currently has,
Um,
just wanted everyone to know that you currently have the flu or
I
the,
have a flu.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I really wanted to be
But you
here
really
with
wanted to
you
do this
tonight and to do the
podcast.
podcast. Yeah. Um. So you're asking me did I go? How did I get better from my depression?
Yeah.
I went to I practice meditation every day.
Mhm.
I meditate like 30 minutes every day after I wake up. And I went to a meditation retreat for 11 days. where you have to be like in complete silence. You cannot communicate to anyone, and you have to meditate like for 9 hours a day. And after that, I started feeling better after that retreat.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, and hopefully that can help someone else to maybe try that as well. Um, is there anything about your story that you have thought of or wanted to mention that I didn't ask you about?
there's something that, like, as I said, like, because I was a swimmer, when I started climbing, I was like kind of very how do you say that?
Muscular?
Musculous? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I
muscular.
had very big muscles like in
Hmm.
my whole body, and everyone, like, especially many boys used to tell me like, you know what? Maybe this is not the sport for you because you are maybe too heavy for this. Like, why don't you go with those legs? Why don't you go playing soccer? Like I received those comments sometimes. And,
Hmm.
like, yeah, that I didn't have the type of body that was needed to be a good climber. Um, but you know what? I just didn't listen to that.
That's great.
I think maybe because I didn't really have any goal. I just wanted to climb, and I was like, yeah, maybe I do have like these big legs, but I don't want to be the best climber in the world. I just want to climb every day and have fun. So why should I stop climbing,
Hmm.
And I didn't listen to them, and I just kept training and kept focused. And at some point, I think when you do something like very consistently and very disciplined and very focused, there is no way that you don't improve. So at some point, even though I was not like the most talented, I started winning competitions, and I don't know, sending her routes. And what I want to say, all the girls out there who maybe listen to this podcast, is like, like, just do what you want to do. It doesn't matter what type of body you have or how you look like. Just go for it, and like, follow your instincts, and follow what you really want to do without listening what others have to say about you or about how you look like.
Yeah.
Actually, there is a song of the Spice Girls, because I loved the Spice Girls when I was a kid, and I still love them.
Yeah.
And the song's name is "Do It," and it says, "Come on, just do it. It doesn't care how you look. It's just about how you feel."
Hmm.
And I always repeat that to myself. I think that's a good mantra for myself.
Yes. No, that's awesome. I love that. I too have had similar like not comments when I'm climbing, but just like when I went to the doctors, they were so because I run a ton and they were surprised, and I ran in college, so like they were surprised that I was a runner. They made comments about, "Oh, you don't look like a runner," stuff like that. So, I definitely can relate to that fully. Um, and just being a strong woman is, especially when I was growing up, was not a positive thing. It is more so now,
I
which is
know.
awesome. Yeah. I think this part of the conversation kind of goes nicely into that final question that I usually ask, which is like, what words of empowerment would you give other women who like want to be consistent or just trying something new? But I'm not sure if you want to add more to that or if those were your words of empowerment. No, or
Without knowing that you were gonna ask the question,
yeah.
I answered it.
Yes. Yes. That's awesome. Um, Great. Perfect. Okay, so I would like to ask if you um do you have any plugs that you would like to give? Anything that you would like to put out there for people to like follow along with?
Well, yeah, like, so the movie is ready since already a year ago, but we are still raising the money to finish paying it. Like, the movie cost $55,000, more or less, and we've paid. about 47,000. That means that we still have a debt of like $88,000.
Hmm.
And so right now what we're doing is that we're like showing the film in different climbing gyms around the world, and then the people from the climbing gym gives us the money of the entrances or a percentage of the money of the entrances. But we're also gonna put the movie in a platform very soon, like in a couple of weeks. And the people who want to watch it can pay, I don't know, $5 or something to watch the movie. So we can finally finish paying the movie because it's been like 3 years of us like raising the money. It's been
Hmm.
too much work, but we're happy about it, about the results. So yeah, if you want to follow us on our Instagram account, which is um, Guerreras Film, Guerreras Film. That's it. We're gonna be putting like the information and the link where you can find the movie in case you want to watch it. Otherwise, my Instagram is Alita Climbing, and I am always like sharing information about the movie on my Instagram. But also, I am a translator and interpreter, and I am also a climbing coach. So I am also like sharing tips about training in my on my Instagram account in case you want to see.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have a website?
No, yet we're creating the website for the film, but it's not ready yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
right now it's everything through Instagram.
Great. Um, that's super exciting. Okay, so you do actually make money from climbing because you're a climbing coach, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
So cool. And then I did want to ask you, so were you the first woman to climb 514A
in Colombia.
in
Yeah.
Colombia? Okay. That's so cool. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. Oh my gosh, incredible. I I mean, I love listening to women's stories, but I hadn't known that much about you before we started. So usually I like to be a little bit more prepared, but that's so cool. So 514A. Wow. So cool. Okay, so
Thank
I
you.
will do my plugs. You can follow me personally. That's at Jacqueline Gross, JACALYNGROSS. You can follow You Are Sportswear. That's the letter U, the letter R, Sportswear on all social platforms. You can check out any of our products at youaresportswear.com. If you are listening to this and you want to watch the video version, you can go to You Are Sportswear's YouTube channel and subscribe. Both the audio and video version of this podcast was produced by Jeremy Canaria and edited by me. Thank you so much, Alita. I really appreciate you being here. I am sorry that you have the flu, and thank you for toughing it
I
out.
am so sorry that I am sick.
It's not your fault. I appreciate you being here. I had no idea.
Thank you.